Finishing up here with the last example here for section 4.3. All right, well, so what we're doing here is that we're going to be given a function right here, and we need to create a table of ordered pairs, and then we're going to give the domain and range of the function by observing its graph. Okay, and I love using grade technology to help us do stuff like this so that we can visually see the math, so that we can understand this better here. So I'm going to be using Desmos, and so if you've never used it, it's awesome. Just go to desmos.com and be prepared to be awesomatized, because it is awesome. And just go to start graphic calculator, and basically you can plug in any function here and it'll graph it for you. So the function that we're trying to graph here is negative 2x plus 1. Okay, so just do negative 2x and then plus 1. And then voila, look, like you have that graph right there. Okay, it also asks for a table of values. If you press on this little cogwheel and then there's a little table, you have a table as well. So now we can actually see the table, see the function equation, and then we're going to also see the graph all at the same time. It's actually really nice. And so let's just go through this together so we understand what's going on here. If I plug in x is 0, that means negative 2 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. That's where they got that from. Or if I plug in the x value of 1, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1, right? Because negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. And so that's how this works here. This is the x values and these are the y values. And then basically these are all plotted. Okay, so I have the point 0, 1. So I go 0 and then up 1. See? And those are all points, and so I'll just kind of push on those so that you can see them. Okay? It looks like these has a scale factor of a half. That's a half, and that's 1, 1.5, and then 2, and so forth. I mean, like you can zoom in more or zoom out. It's up to you there. So what I want to do here is I just want to take a screenshot of this and then put it back into our program that I'm using to show all this. We'll just do that. We'll go here, and then we'll just drop that in here. Just go and drop that in. Okay, great. And I think I'll just kind of just make it a little smaller here. Great. So now, the reason why I wanted to do that is let's just see what it is that we're trying to do here. Okay, so first of all, we're supposed to create a table, which we did. We have to graph it, but what about this whole domain and range thing? And that's why I wanted to go right here. What's up with the domain and range? Okay, if we kind of think about this here, what is the domain? Okay, domain. Domain really, the question that you could ask yourself is what is the domain of something, is you can ask yourself what x values, and I'll just go ahead and put this in kind of parentheses here for the x values, what x values are used to graph this line, right? If you think about it, see how we use the x values of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we could even go more than that, right? I mean, we can use 7, 8, 9, 10, because this graph will go forever down and it will go forever up right here, right? Like it just keeps going and going and going. So if we think about it, it uses every x value. It will use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's going to use 20. It's going to keep going here. So the way that we say that is we say all real numbers. And what that means is it's going to use all of the negative x numbers, and it's going to use all of the positive x numbers. So that's what domain means. Domains means what x values are used to graph this. And then the range or the y values is what y values are used. Well, look, I mean, it uses every y value. It's going to use that value, y value. It's going to keep going up and it's going to keep going down. So the same thing, we use this little thing called all real numbers. Another way that you can do that is you can say negative infinity to positive infinity. This means how far does it go to the left and how far does it go to the right. And then right here, negative infinity to positive infinity, which means how far down does it go and how far up does it go. And if this goes forever right and left and up and down, it's going to use every x and y value there to graph. Okay, let's do a few more examples here. Let's graph the function a half x squared. Okay, so go right here, and you can either keep that same one and just kind of do that, and then it disappears. So that was a half x, and if you want to do to the power, you get the shift and then the number 6 key. That's the little caret, and then it does that there. Was that it right? A half x squared? Good, good. Great, and then if you want to put a table, go like this, table, voila, and then we get a table with it as well. Let me put it just like this. And again, I want to go ahead and take a little screenshot of this here. That's fine, I'll just go to like about right there. There it is. Okay, so if we look at this here, again, the question is, what is the domain and the range? Okay, so let's first do the domain. Domain means, again, what are the x values that are used? Okay, let's first do negative. So look, you use this negative x value, right? Because there's a point right there. It used that negative x value, that negative x value, that negative x value. If you go over, it used it, and this graph goes on forever. It's just going to keep going left, 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 left. So it's going to use every single x value to graph it. What about positive? See, here's yes, 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 right. I mean, it uses that number. It uses that number. This means it's going to use every single x value. So I'm going to say all real numbers, or I'm going to use this notation. It doesn't matter what notation you use. They mean the exact same thing. Now, the range. Let's first look at our negative values. Okay, how far down does this graph go if I look at y values? Well, does it go to -1? No. -2, -3? No. It stops at 0. So the range, the lowest it goes is 0. But then how high does it go? Well, look, here's 1, so it goes to 1. It uses 2. It uses 3. It uses 4. It uses 5. It uses 6. So it's going to go on up forever. So look at this. It starts at 0 and it ends forever. Or actually, I guess that means it never ends. So what does that mean? Check it out, guys. These brackets means that it actually stops somewhere. Like there's an actual number, 0. That's an actual number. But the infinity has parentheses because that means it's not included. Like you can't ever get to infinity. Okay, and so that's why we use parentheses, meaning it's never going to get there. It's going to approach it. It's going to just go towards it, but it won't ever get there. But if it actually goes to a number, then we're going to use 0. So the range is from 0 to infinity, what the domain is all real numbers. Okay, one more for the road. Let's do x cubed plus 1. X cubed plus 1 here. So I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of those guys. X, and then again, if you want to do the cube, do the shift and 6 key. That'll make the text go up, and then put your cube, and then do the right arrow to go back down, and then plus 1. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do another table there, and there I'm going to zoom in like that, move it up a little bit. Okay. We'll just talk about this one. I won't copy and paste it, but if you look at the domain, how far to the left does it go? Well, yeah, it's going to use -1. It's going to use -2 because it's down here, and it's going to go -3. It goes down there. It's going to keep going to the left. You know, if I keep zooming out, I know it's really small here, but it is going to keep going to the left. It's slowly, but it does keep going to the left. I know that the graph can look really deceiving, but it's going to use every single number right there. And then same thing for the domain of the positive. It's going to keep going to the right. So basically we would say that the domain of this is all real numbers. It uses all of the negative and the positive. What about range? Well, how far down does the graph go? Well, it goes down forever. So that means it's going to use all real numbers going to the negative. And it's also going to go positive. So the domain and range for both of these here, the domain you can say is all real numbers, and the range will be all real numbers there. Okay?